Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about the new Foals album, Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost Part 1. Foals are a UK-based alternative rock band, however their style over the years, as you probably know, has evolved quite a bit. And I'll be honest, at first I was really into these guys. I thought their debut, Antidotes, was a very fun album. It was a very upbeat, snappy dance punk album with subtle nods to math rock thrown in as well. And honestly, I dug it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it over the years. There were big sing-along choruses and shimmering atmospheres from start to finish. Occasionally, I felt like some of the tracks here did bleed into one another, and I had a little issue deciphering which one was which. However, I didn't feel like that was too big of an issue over the years. But like I said, if you've kept up with Foals, you'll know that their sound has really evolved. 2010's Total Life Forever traded in these shimmering dance punk sounds for hazy aquatic rhythms. And honestly, I still really enjoyed it over the years. It was very hazy and dreamy, but it was also very harmonious at times. But when it came to some of their later albums, I feel like on paper, I really should have loved what they were doing. Take, for example, 2013's Holy Fire. This is a much grimier and grittier album, but at the end of the day, it just comes off totally overblown. And 2015's What Went Down was a little bit better, but still was really forgettable, at least for me. Now, honestly, I've had a lot of high hopes for this album, mostly because the singles have been really great from it. So let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with Moonlight, and honestly, I really love this as far as an intro goes. The production is so chilly, like this is icy cold, but it's really fascinating. Like, this atmosphere, it's one of the biggest that Foals has ever worked with. It's just so gigantic, it's very exciting. And Yanis Philippakis on vocals. Like, wow, I haven't heard him this prominent in freaking years. Like, his vocals here are just so smoky and mysterious, I love it. Between that, this dense atmosphere, and these instrumentals that just don't give away too much, this is a genuinely mysterious but really fascinating intro. Then we have Exits, one of the big singles from this album and one of my favorite tracks here. It's a much more straightforward tune at the end of the day, while bringing over a lot of elements that the intro brought in. It's a very groovy tune with plenty of nods to their early dance punk days. But I think a lot of those early dance punk associations really has helped Foals over the years, because guess what? Now that they're going for a more electronic sound, they could really carry a groove. So much so that on tracks like Exits, their instrumentals come off damn near hypnotizing. And honestly, for a very synthetic atmosphere, I can't shake the feeling that this is just truly beautiful most of the time. But most importantly, it's very coherent of a tune. Like, it comes off very current, but it never comes off preachy, which is something I seriously respect. I'm absolutely loving this track. It's one of the best tracks here. I don't even mind the near 2-minute jam at the end of this track. On the other hand, White Onions is a much more upbeat track, and it's much more punchy, even though Foals end up sticking with their more electronic sound. But this one has just the right amount of crunchy guitars and passionate performances to take away some of the synthetic sounds that they've been dealing with so far, not like I was even tired of them. At the end of the day, though, I can't help but just getting caught up in these plinking synths and these funky bass licks. I love it. Hell, there are even some moments of just sheer attitude on this track. I am so into this new sound. And on the other hand, In Degrees is totally different, being almost completely synth-driven. But the very psychedelic grooves here and the tons of rhythms are just what the doctor ordered, really. I literally have such a hard time listening to this track and sitting still, because all I want to do is get up and move to this. And the singing here, like, I can't remember the last time I heard Foals working with so many great harmonies. Honestly, if you're not a synth fan, this is going to be some pretty hard to swallow tracks right here. But this is like beyond where I want to hear Foals right now. A few tracks later on the Luna, this one starts off with a very punchy groove. We also get some of the most hypnotic vocals of the entire album. This one is just so obvious and one of the most straightforward tracks here. But my god, this track is absolute money. Between these incredibly infectious synths to just all the harmonies coming together at the chorus. Like, I don't know what inspired them to go down this route, but I'm really happy that they did. Cafe d'Athens is actually one of the more experimental tunes here. I love the sort of upbeat vibe to this and just how tropical almost this one comes off. It's also sort of warm in parts. And honestly, at first I was a little iffy on this track. But it's actually won me over time, mostly because it's just very light, very fun, and very psychedelic once again. It's a weird one, trust me, but I can't help but eat it all up. Even Surf Part 1, while it's only a 40-second interlude, is very enjoyable, and once again brings in that sort of frigid but also very beautiful sound that we heard earlier. If you haven't realized yet, I'm really loving a lot of what Foals is doing here. As a matter of fact, I'm so excited for Part 2 later on this year. I really hope that they continue to go down this route. But there are a few tracks that I'm not completely wowed by here. For one, we get Syrups, which actually takes a real bluesy route, something I wasn't expecting. Like, this track has an honestly completely different feel to the rest of the album. But just how genuinely bluesy Yannis comes off here makes it actually kind of work. This one also has some of the more prominent guitars of the entire album, which I'm sure a lot of you will be happy to hear. But honestly, it's not my favorite track here. I feel like they could sort of pull off a very slow, bluesy, emotional, and quite frankly spiritual track pretty easily. But this one just kind of ends up becoming a little forgettable, especially with all the psychedelic rhythms that we've been given on almost every other track. However, I can't completely write this one off because the more upbeat second half to it is really, really good. Like here, Foals just instantly have so much more purpose, and it's really urgent too, almost like they're making up for the first couple of slow minutes. And honestly, I have a lot of the same feelings on Sunday later on. Like, this has been an album of very chilly, beautiful atmospheres as well as psychedelic rhythms abound. I don't really want to hear a neo-psychedelia ballad right now. I actually find the atmosphere on this one to be freaking gorgeous, and the production to be really likable as well. But between a very faceless performance from Yannis and some very sappy songwriting, I'm not into this. But once again, I can't completely hate this track because Foals once again reel me back in with an unbelievable beat switch and a final 2 minutes that'll keep me grooving on my worst day. Like, yeah, once again, I wasn't into maybe the first couple of minutes, but Foals do switch it around really well. Then we have I'm Done With The World and It's Done With Me as a finale. And once again, I like a lot of it, but there are some elements to it that I'm not completely crazy about. Yes, it's easily the most emotional tune here by far. As a matter of fact, it's absolutely beautiful. But to be honest, I feel like they dropped the ball a little bit. I don't feel like this belonged here. Like, this is far from bad, and the performances on this track all around are unbelievable. I just feel it's a little bit of a limp finale. However, overall, I still think that this is some of the most exciting material that Foals has put out in years. I love the psychedelic rhythms. I like the alternative dance approach. I love the harmonies and the choruses and the electric performances. I hope that they keep this up on the second part of this album coming out later this year. For now, I'm feeling a light 8 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.